Hey y'all. Thought I'd give a little update on the bike. Essentially, I guess it's been like 3 days or something like that. I spent a day working on it, and this is what's left. No, we got it all the way down to the bare frame. We were doing pretty good, didn't like break any bolts, anything like that, and and then it came to the steering tube, and I don't know what the hell happened with that, but you know, people do some funny things when they're trying to repair something or replace something, and so let me show you what happened here. This is the steering stem, lower triple clamp. This used to be connected right here, of course. So this whole thing right here, from the ring that's like all gouged up, all the way up to here is actually a nut. You can see inside there, right? You can see the stem down inside there. So the way I found it, I took the top triple clamp off and was greeted by this like jacked up nut that looked like somebody had been using a pipe wrench on it, and I said, well, I tried with a punch and it wouldn't budge, and so I tried with a small little wrench that I had, and it still wouldn't budge. So I pulled out a pipe wrench and tried it with that, and it still wouldn't budge. So I actually like put a big pipe on it, and then I was actually able to start turning it. But, and I don't know if you can see this quite as much as you need to, but as I was turning it off, it was just tearing the threads off, basically. So who knows what the hell happened. May have been something to do with the way they put it on. It doesn't really look like it's cross-threaded. But at that point, you know, I was having a hell of a time getting it off, and I could see that the threads were like jacked. So I just said, "Fuck it," and cut it off. So here we are. I was also, and this may have something to do with it. I don't know if maybe the stem was bent or deformed or something. But when I finally got this off, I was able to get the lower nut off. There's another nut that, it's just a narrow one that was right here. I was able to spin that off no problem because I had cut off all the damage to threads. But then I couldn't get the stem out of the steering tube because the upper bearing was stuck on the stem. And I whacked at it a few times with a hammer, and I couldn't get it off. So I finally took the whole frame over to the press and pushed the stem down, and you can see I pushed the stem like a half an inch out of it, out of the lower triple clamp, and I was finally able to get the bearing off, and then the whole thing just came out. So that's that. I also, you know, I don't really feel too bad about that because these are the forks that came off the bike, and somebody probably spent some you know, some money on their factory connection tuning or rebuild or whatever. But if you look at the upper tube, it's not really quite as prevalent on the lower portion of the tube, but up here it's all like ridges, like something's bubbling up underneath it or something, and you know, I'm pushing with my fingernail here, and I'm actually like sort of digging into it to a certain extent, a little bit, or scraping flakiness off of it. And here the plating's all gone here. So I don't know exactly how that could happen. They actually don't feel bad. You know, they do have some dampening and so forth. But I don't know if I would feel very safe with this aluminum deterioration here the way we have it. So I'm probably going to have to go buy some, or do something about some forks. And generally when you change forks, you want to change the triple clamp too, because you know, the whole front end geometry with offset and trail and rake, and that's it sort of goes hand in hand. You know, you get your proper trail on the front wheel with the offset of the triple clamps, right? And the rake, of course. So I don't know. I'll have to make a decision. I have a pair of 2003 YZ250 forks, which I could probably use. I even have the triple clamps, so that's a possibility. Or maybe those would have to be revalved in order to use them on this bike. The valving is usually much more stiff for 450F. I mean, well, maybe not. Anyway, we'll see what happens. The plan at this point is to take this outdoors probably and either use brake clean on it to try and clean it up as much as I can, and then let it air dry, and then we use this stuff called metal prep. Let me see if I can. Yeah, must be outside. Metal prep is a mixture of phosphoric acid and something else, and when you put it on rust, it sort of neutralizes it. I mean, everybody's heard of navel jelly before. This is something more industrial level, but it works really good. And so this kind of surface rust, you know, you could sandblast it, but you might leave some of the rust behind. And also, like, here's a little surface rust up underneath this gusset. So that's the kind of stuff where you want to try and get the metal prep into it and neutralize the rust so it doesn't continue to rust when it gets wet. And then we'll send it off to the sandblaster and probably powder coat the frame white again. And while that's happening, I'll have to decide what we were going to do as far as suspension. The shock is appears to be in pretty good shape, so that's probably rebuildable. The forks, we're going to have to make a decision. And then we're going to have to go through the swing arm and replace all of the bearings in the linkage. So that'll take a little bit of time to take care of that. The wheels, these are pretty rough. The spokes are all corroded. The rim actually looks like it's in fairly decent shape. I'll probably put it on a truing stand and see how it runs. And if it's straight, you know, I'll probably just get a new spoke kit or something like that, and you know, go from there. Clean up the wheels. They should polish out pretty nice. Probably need a new rotor. Same with the rear. Change the bearings in the wheel or in the hub, and put some new tires on. And check this out here. This is pretty odd. I don't know if you can see this. This tire is all worn at angles. All the knobs are like, so there's very little tread on this side and more on this side. And this is a front tire, right? I don't know how you would end up wearing a tire like that, unless maybe you were doing like stoppies, like day after day after day after day on pavement, maybe? I mean, that's about the only thing I can think of. Or really heavy stops on pavement. A little bit strange. Anyway. So that's pretty much it. Anything else that I need to cover? Oh, the engine. Take you over to the workbench. The engine came out okay. You know, it came out of the frame okay. It's a little dirty. It looks like it's been leaking oil underneath. I'm not going to lift that up to show it to you, but I stuck my dial indicator in there because I was curious if it was timed properly. You can't see that. There's a mark over here on the side, though, where you can see. And the stator is lined up with this mark, but there's a mark on the flywheel that is not lined up with that. Now, on a modern YZ250, you line up the, you rotate the dial indicator 7/1000ths of an inch back from top dead center, and then basically you check and see if the mark on the flywheel is aligned with the mark on the stator. Oops. And this is not, this mark on this little stud here outside is not really relevant. So I don't really know quite what to think at this point, but this whole motor is going to come apart anyway. We'll probably put piston rings, and check the rod and the crank. Probably put some main bearings in it, some main bearing seals in it, and then check all of the bearings in the transmission. Make sure everything looks fine in there. Put it back together and you know, put whatever parts that we need to put in there in order to make it race ready. The plan for this bike is to go do some vintage racing, so we'll see what we have. These are the links for the rear suspension. Trust me, those bearings are no good. It was like trying to rotate those in the swing arm. They hardly moved at all. So total mess. Just a lot of neglect, you know. And you know, not everybody knows about that kind of stuff. So no judgment, but that's the way it is at this point. So we went and I took the day off yesterday and went riding with some of my buddies, moto, at NCMP. I took the YZ250 out. This is my modern YZ250. It's a ripper. It hauls ass. So had a lot of fun. It's clean because I brought it home and washed it last night, which is, you know, what everybody should do after a day of riding, just so you know you don't have a bunch of dirt on your bike that you know, causes a lot of grinding and erosion of parts and so on and so forth, and you end up with something like this, right? So it's always good to like wash your bike after you ride it, and you know, put your hands on it too, and like say, oh shit, this bolt's loose, you know, or I need to adjust my clutch lever, or my shift lever is loose, or my brake pedal needs adjusting, my chain's loose, all that kind of stuff, right? If you just like bring it home and throw it in the shed and you know, don't look at it until the next time you ride it, then it's a good chance that there's going to be something wrong the next time you go and ride it. Either that, or you're going to leave all that mud on it, and things like foot peg pivots and chain and brake pedal, all that kind of stuff that moves, you know. When you get like mud caked into it and then you go ride it again, it just grinds, you know. It's like sandpaper in there, and just like wears shit out. Another good example of damage is like when you get mud between like your seat and your fuel tank, and then you go ride again, it just does this, you know, it does this more like, and it like abrades the plastic between, you know, either the seat or the tank, and you know, it just causes excessive wear. So hope you enjoyed the little tour here. We'll keep you up to date. Thanks for watching.